Welcome to part 12 of my Building the Flying Dutchman. I have to start right out with a thanks to a viewer. I think it's Daryl603, who pointed out that actually the parts that I said were missing from the ship, this bottom keel part, it really was there. I just didn't look at the right spot in the part sheet. So all those parts are there. The piece is actually made out of black walnut, which is what I had mentioned in my earlier video. Thanks, Daryl, for pointing that out so that everyone will know that actually the parts are included. You can see I have some interesting progress on the ship, so let me get right into it and show you how I got to this point. On these decorative cannon port metal parts, they're flat, and obviously your ship has some curve to it. How I'm dealing with it is I took a curved file and filed the back and got a little bit of a curve to it. Then when I put it on the ship, it can follow that contour a little bit and will fit up against the wood a little flusher. Now I did not work on it that hard on the other side, but I am on this particular one. And I have a little bit more filing to do, so it's still rocking a little bit. I will continue to file this down. You can see some of my metal filings there. They are brittle, they do not bend. They will break before they'll bend. I did some more work on these lion heads or gargoyles, whatever you'd like to call them. I have put them in place. I was wanting to review these ladders, rescue ladders, whatever you want to call them, steps. And the instructions show this set clearly, but on the other side there's also a set, and it's just kind of subtle that it's there. I'm working on these rails that are used to slide the lifeboat up and out of the ship, and you can see there's a gap under there. So what I've been doing is, again, I will mention my miniature belt sander. I've been taking off little bits at an angle to eliminate that gap. So this one is pretty much done, and now I'll start working on this one to get rid of that gap that is right there where the ship goes in. I have them sanded to the shape that I want, at least to my satisfaction. Now I'll take them off, stain them, and then get them glued in place. I'm making these top railings, and the instructions have you cut little pieces and put them in here to make this curvature. And what I'm doing instead is I took a small handsaw, cut most of the way through the wood, or at least halfway, and then I take a hot soldering iron, soak this in. You could do either water or ammonia. Ammonia dries a little quicker. It's kind of, you have to be careful working with ammonia. And you can see I can bend that and stretch it out, and when it's in place and sanded, this will not have those seams here. For the railing that caps this off so that I don't have square edges, I'll take the piece of wood and a piece of sandpaper and then kind of do a motion flipping, and that'll give me a rounded edge. I'm putting these top pieces on, I'll call them railings, and it's important, many of you will know this, but to file down so that all the edges are the same height. And you can see I've filed these posts off a little bit here, obviously the back. Here's another example where I've just done a little filing work to make sure everything is pretty flat. Now these pieces will fit on like so. This is a good example of having to fine-tune something. This fits, but I need to kind of get it out of here. I need to angle this back piece because this back piece is angled, and it'll fit in better if I just sand an angle, a wedge there. And again, my mini belt sander will do a perfect job for something like that. I have that done, but I also took a little bit off of this underside here. I had a little raised area there. I tried to sand it off. Probably if I was paying more attention, I should have filed this at an angle earlier, but I messed up and didn't notice it. but this will fit in here just fine. There is probably a better way to do this, but they don't give any measurements of distance between these holes. And they do give measurements for these parts here. So if you look Q11, Q12, these all have the length. If you look close, you can count how many holes there are, but getting it consistent can be a little tricky. You could just eyeball it. I should have looked at my parts sheet earlier. This is part Q20, and it already is made and has the holes, and I could have used that as my guide. So if you're watching this video and you're making it, you could do that. The photo is on the original page that shows the cutting and making of all of these. It was hard to see how many holes, but if you go to this color page, which is section U in the instruction manual, you'll find a lot of them, and you'll look around and find them. The one that was tricky for me was this Q12, and it has 12 holes, but you can see there's 6 on each side. So that's how I determined where and how many holes to put in them, and I was able to find them all if you just look closely. This is a series Q parts. They should all start with a Q, but I just put the numbers and I'm just kind of organizing them here. You do have to make each one of these parts. Wasn't too difficult to do. First I take a triangular file and make this little groove here, and then I bevel the top with my mini belt sander. I could angle this platform. There's a little screw here that you can loosen and angle it, but I just eyeball it. There it is. So here they are, all ready to put on the ship here shortly. I should make a note to myself. I'm having to drill small holes on each side of the cannon ports for the rigging line to hold the cannon in place. So there's an eye bolt that just pushes in there. But I could have drilled these holes before I even put this together. So note to self, do that before you even put the ship together. Even though the instructions show you doing it now, I could have done it so much easier before construction, and it wouldn't have changed a thing. Have those eye hooks for the rigging to hold the cannons in place, all on this side. And now to the other side. And I mentioned before, I know that these electrical wires are showing, but I'm going to be able to, I'll brush them a darker color, tuck them in the corner, and then cover it with, a little piece of black rope or something. Haven't decided yet, but I'm sure I can come up with something. I may have documented earlier that some of the grates I make on a laser cutter. That's what I did here on the bow of the ship. I made those on my laser machine. I also had made this differently. I had used black walnut and had worked on the teeth, try to make them more ferocious looking, but it failed and I broke it trying to get it installed. So I went ahead and used what comes with the ship, but I did do some filing to give it a little more depth, I guess. But those are in place. Wasn't too difficult. It fits below this upper rub strip, and I did cut this one off just a little bit to fit it right there. That front statue goes up here. I will probably put a block of wood in between these two pieces here, and then make sure that they're flush with each other. This concludes part 12 of my building the Flying Dutchman. I want to thank all my viewers, all my subscribers. By the time this video views, I think I will hit the 10,000 subscriber mark, so thank you to all subscribers on my channel. This is Boiler Den 1, and as always, thanks for watching.